the line of questioning of these reporters in French. So in the video I'm going to show you guys, Pierre's getting asked questions by reporters in French and English, but the French ones, the ones from the CBC, the French version of Radio-Canada, they're asking Pierre questions to try to make him look bad because he's against corruption. They're defending Trudeau for being a corrupt prime minister in Quebec. They're trying to paint Pierre as a bad person for saying the RCMP didn't do their job. They didn't do their job. And then they start this rumor. Some random dude starts a rumor on a podcast, conservative MPs that are going to switch to the Liberals because of Pierre saying that Trudeau, some of the corruption during the Trudeau era should have been investigated and deserved jail time. He was not talking specifically of Justin Trudeau. He was talking about the corruption in general of these Liberal ministers. Then they start asking Pierre questions. Do you think that at the end of the day, there's going to be Conservative MPs that are going to leave your caucus? They're running these stories in Canada, but in Quebec, it's wild. They're actually like trying to make Pierre look bad to the point where Conservative MPs are going to leave the Conservatives. Makes no sense. Pierre had to bring his French lieutenant, Pierre-Paul Rousse, to talk in French to the reporters in French. They had a caucus meeting just to make sure that this rumor was false, and it was false. It's a story that was started by some random guy on a podcast. As if someone in the Conservative Party would want to leave the Conservatives because of that. It's actually stupid that you're trying to make Pierre look bad because of this. You're actually an idiot.
Further, and that's the message I'll be bringing to Prime Minister Carney.
Regrettez-vous votre commentaire sur la GRC, M. Poilievre?
Est-ce que vous êtes inquiet que votre leadership soit remis en question à la suite de ces propos-là?
No. Wait.
Poilievre, are you confident that by the end of the day today, all of your MPs will still be Conservative MPs?
Yes.
You think you went too far in saying the former Prime Minister should be in jail?
That's not what I said.
Well,
that's not
what
I
I
said.
heard. What did you say then?
Said.
Repeat what you said.
Sure, I'll tell you what I said. I was asked about the scandals of the last 10 years of the Liberal government. And what would I do if such scandals and corruption were to happen when I become Prime Minister? And I said I would have zero tolerance for corruption. Nobody is above the law. So if I could, in certain cases, I think there were scandals in the Liberal government that would be appropriately punished in that way. You think of the Green Slush Fund, where individuals were appointed to a board to manage public funds. And what did they do with it? They gave it to themselves. To me, that is a crime for which they should have been held responsible. People have got to be held responsible for corruption. And if you look at my remarks, that's what I said. We will hold people accountable for corruption.
The RCMP covered that. Do you still think the RCMP covered it up?
My criticisms of Ms. Lucky have been long-standing, and that's why we called for her to resign. We called for her to resign for a number of numerous scandals that she and the RCMP failed to investigate, for the political interference, the appalling political interference in the Portapique shooting case, and countless others. We've had long-standing criticisms of Ms. Lucky, the former commissioner, and we stand by those criticisms.
Est-ce que vous craignez que des députés puissent quitter à la suite du malaise que ça a créé?
Quelles sont les preuves pour avancer tout ça sur M. Trudeau là, et Mme Lucky?
Do you acknowledge that some Conservatives were upset by what you said about the RCMP?
Well, listen, my view is that Conservatives all agree on one thing. People should be held accountable for corruption, and my future government will do that. People will be held to the highest standard, and if there is ever corruption when I'm Prime Minister, the people involved will be fired and their cases turned over to the police.
Interference Commissioner yet? Has the Liberal government reached
I have
out
not
to
been
you?
consulted on that, no.
Mistake in suggesting that Prime Minister Trudeau should have gone to jail?
That's not what I said, if you look at my remarks.
Aujourd'hui, le mercredi 22 octobre, est-ce que M. Trudeau, selon vous, devrait être en prison? Est-ce qu'il mérite d'être emprisonné aujourd'hui?
C'est pas ça que j'ai dit.
Mais est-ce que vous croyez qu'il mérite d'être emprisonné?
C'est pas ça que j'ai dit.
Change your mind?
Well, we had a good conversation. My message, of course, to the Prime Minister is that people can't afford to pay any more. that they're tapped out, their grocery bills, their rent is too high after 10 years of excess spending. So I shared my view that we need the government to bring down its inflationary deficits and taxes. I was grateful for the chance to sit down with the Prime Minister. We had a good conversation. He didn't make any commitments, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what he comes up with.
You said you hoped he was in listening mode. Did you feel that was the case?
I think we both were. We had a good back and forth, and we shared our respective views. I'm not going to report to you anything that he said because that was in the four walls of the room. I can only speak for myself, and I reiterated that we need this to be an affordable budget. We've seen over the last 10 years of Liberal deficit spending is driven up the cost of living and driven down investment in our country. So my message is it's time to reverse course on the costly decade of deficit spending that has given us more expensive food and housing. The Canadian people deserve a break. The cost of government is driving up the cost of living, and so if the Prime Minister is serious about making Canada a more affordable country, then he needs to bring forward an affordable budget.
Do you get the sense
over
this is a budget
over
that you can
history?
support?
Sorry, go ahead.
We can take both.
Okay, you go first.
Do you get the sense that this is a budget you could support?
I haven't seen anything, but I've sort of laid out my conditions for the party, and we'll see what he comes up with.
I mean, history, though, is that opposition parties, official opposition parties, do not support the budget. I mean, you just don't. It's not part of your job. So do you know what I mean? Do you see a world in which this is possible for you?
The world would be it's an affordable budget that gets rid of taxes, excess taxes on investment, home building, work, energy, that brings the deficit down to the level that the Liberals promised only a year ago. Pretty reasonable to go back to the deficit they were running only a year ago. These are the things that he would have to do for us to consider it. At the end of the day, our number one priority is people's take-home pay has to grow, and that comes through more affordable food and homes. The current Liberal policy is driving up the cost of living. If they sharply reverse that, then they can bring down the cost of living. And that's what I asked for with this meeting with the Prime Minister.
Just I'm just curious, after meeting with them, what are your impressions as far as where the deficit might go?
I didn't press him too hard, but the spending has been out of control since he took office. In a lot of ways, he's spending faster and more than the Liberal government was when he became Prime Minister. Spending on the bureaucracy is up 6%. On consultants, it's up 37%. It seems like he's got a new agency for every problem in Canada. It's going to be an alphabet soup of different acronyms around the city. And so my sense is that his spending, Mr. Carney's spending, with great respect, is totally out of control. And Canadians are paying the price for his out of control spending.
What do you say?
So why not press him a little bit further on it?
Well, I didn't expect I would get an answer to that question in this meeting. And if I did, I'm not going to repeat things he said to me in private anyway.
There seems to be like a shift in the narrative where it used to be the job of the government was in a minority situation, was to convince the opposition to support the budget. And instead it's become, it is the opposition's fault if you don't support the budget. And I just wonder if you could reflect on that tension, like this idea that if Canadians truly do expect in a minority situation everybody to work together, then where is it with all your parties to sort of sit down and hammer this out, or who owns that ultimately?
I think it'll be up to the Canadian people to judge when they see the substance and measure it against the votes. But what I've tried to do is be fair-minded and just holding him to the promises that he made. It was a year ago the Liberals promised this year's deficit would only be $42 billion. So I don't think it's that unreasonable to expect that they would keep that cap. He said he would be judged by the prices at the grocery store. Well, those prices are rising at 4% now, twice the Bank of Canada's target rate. My goal is to bring that food price inflation down. He said that he would make he would create jobs. So we're putting forward policies that would actually do that. So I think we've been very reasonable in basically insisting that the Prime Minister live up to the very big promises that he made of himself. And for me, the biggest and most important promise of it all is that people can actually start to afford their lives again.
Do you get the sense he wants an election out of this?
We didn't discuss that.
The people doing these podcasts, you need to think again before asking Pierre questions like this and showing this, because a lot of people misconstrued what Pierre said. From the Conservative Party, on the conservative side. And without seeing the video, I thought that's what Pierre said, because other conservatives were saying that he thought that Pierre thought that Justin Trudeau should go to jail. And when I actually watched the footage, it's not what he said. It's not what he said. He said there was corruption in the Trudeau era that certainly deserves some jail time and investigation. He wasn't talking about Trudeau specifically. You know, and it's so stupid. Imagine like trying to start a rumor that conservatives are going to leave Pierre's caucus because of that. Pierre could literally shit in front of Mark Carney during the question period, and the conservatives would get up and clap. If you think conservatives are going to leave the movement and the party because of that, you're dumb. Anyways, I'm going to leave it at that. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Thanks for watching.